Hello, welcome to the Amazing Nerdiverse. I'm Jeff Grantz. Joining me this time for this review is Chris Parsons. Because Steven couldn't go to the review, and he's sitting right there watching us, and he gets to know that we saw Justice League, and he didn't.
Oh, we really saw it.
Yeah.
Like, way more than anybody else in this room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just get on.
There's like a...
just tell him your stupid little however it was.
This has been a movie I've been looking forward to my entire life. Seeing Justice League on the big screen was a long-time dream of mine. It's been a rocky start for the DCEU. Not all the films have been hits. They've had a couple misses, and
A couple
now,
Lex Luthors.
Yeah, they finally got them on the big screen. And so, overall, what did you think about this? Finally, seeing these characters come to life on the big screen.
So I couldn't have cared less about DCEU stuff when that was coming out. I thought, oh, here's these guys trying to make cash grabs at the Marvel success, and I mean, I've been pretty disenchanted with Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman. Wonder Woman brought it back for me, so I started to have that little tingle of hope that maybe they can do something. And I think Justice League shows that wasn't a one-hit wonder. They really capitalized on that same feel where they're not trying to go too far into we're the gritty, serious ones. We're not like Marvel with all their jokesters. And they brought a lightness to it, along with the depth of characters that you want from DC, and it worked very well.
As a comic book reader, I always gravitated more towards the DC stuff. So seeing them kind of stumble and falter in their film versions of their universe, it hurt me. It hurt my soul. Yeah, and so, like, seeing them bring these characters to life, and, like, it might not have been as graceful as, like, say, the Avengers of bringing the characters together, but when they were all together and they were all fighting alongside of each other, it just worked for me, and they found those moments of stuff that they didn't really have in some of the other movies.
The camaraderie.
Yeah, the camaraderie, the thoughts of, like, civilians and like, involved in, like, there's stuff
Instead
like that.
Of rocket launcher grenading into the crowd.
Yeah,
go,
and,
we
like,
saved people.
You see, like, these characters learning lessons from the previous iterations and stuff. It might not have been the smartest idea to start with those things, but they've kind of took what they had and took it in a direction that kind of takes it more closer to the classic versions of these characters. Batman, Ben Affleck is, I do think now, after seeing him in a couple of movies, I do think he is my favorite on-screen version of Batman. You don't think he's
he was my favorite of Bruce Wayne? I don't know, he's not my favorite Batman.
Not your favorite Batman? Your favorite Bruce Wayne? Yeah,
He's my favorite Bruce Wayne.
I do think he's my favorite Batman. I've had issues with various versions of Batman. What was your favorite Batman?
What are you talking about?
Like that, for instance.
An issue.
I was never a huge fan of Christian Bale's as Batman. I thought he was great as Bruce Wayne, but as Batman, he was always like my least favorite, least interesting part of those movies.
Yeah. I like my Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love him. Love me some Michael Keaton. But Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne was what I've always wanted to see as that character. He's a little past his prime and stuff, and they touch on that again in this movie.
Can't do this forever.
But yeah, just seeing the way the character's grown and like kind of, learn lessons from the way that they went a little too far with him. They brought him back a little bit, and like he stands for something a little more in this movie than he did in Batman vs. Superman.
And the Bruce Wayne was fleshed out to where, like our Nolan films was Batman, right? Yeah. There's not really much Bruce Wayne. He accomplished more, did more important things as Bruce than Batman, I think. Yeah. What
about Wonder Woman?
Still killing it. Like, I didn't know if they'd be able to keep that momentum that she had in the character. We talked about this a little bit on the way back. Wonder Woman, I kind of was worried if they were going to do the cheesy girl power instead of making her a great character. Yeah. And the Wonder Woman film completely assuaged that of me. They subverted those tropes entirely, and they did it more on this. There was a moment in the film that was a very badass Wonder Woman thing that got the loudest reaction from the theater. Yeah, I love that moment as well. It's such a simple thing, but it's just something like she's really badass. Speaks. Yes. Yeah, it's not even like an action thing, or it's just like a line she says. It's kind of like a throwaway thing, and you're like, oh yeah, she's a badass. She's aware of how badass she is. Cyborg. This is one of the characters that going in, I felt like maybe I would be least interested in him. We talked about it after the movie that there's like a little bit of a chance of just getting him just whiny and complaining about his situation the whole time. And then, there was a little bit of that. And granted, like it just like it makes sense. Like he getting Frankenstein.
Yeah, but like they didn't just
dwell on it.
Yeah, they didn't dwell on it. It didn't weigh the character down. He kind of got over it quickly and became like what I want to see in that character.
And it fit the personal arcs thing, like you're talking about the Avengers movies, the coming together of everybody and finding their place and how they fit with each other. Yeah. His background gave him a good reason to be the way that he is towards the team when he first comes into it. Yeah. And gives him kind of the element of growth with the team where they can kind of foster the good and heroicness in him in a way that it plays well off of the what we thought might have been the tortured hero thing going into it.
One thing I didn't even think about, I really like his voice as the character.
Yeah, it was great.
Like it just to me just felt like an animated version of the character, or whatever. Where the voice is like the main driving thing behind the performance.
Yep.
His voice is so good for it. Aquaman was the character I was looking most forward to in this movie. I've always loved the character of Aquaman.
Yeah.
Even the old like blonde haired, like classic version of the character. I've always loved the character. I know he's a constant joke, but I mean he's not a joke anymore in this movie. He does have some great comedic moments and everything, but like the one thing I will say about this is I was really looking forward to it, and I felt like they might have put all of his best stuff in the trailers.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot to surprise me with Aquaman, but luckily he's the next character we're getting his own film. And it kind of sucks that it's a year away. Like we're not going to see another DC movie until
6 more years for Shazam.
Until
23 more years.
Until next December. But he's next. We're gonna get to explore his world a little more fully. But it was cool seeing him in this, and it was cool seeing like what they're gonna do. Just a little taste of the underwater world that he's gonna play around in, and that was cool.
I agree with what you said about the trailers kind of already spoiling most of his lines. He was the weakest part for me, I think. He had this gruffness to him that everybody's seen the trailers where he's hanging out in like the Scandinavian village and everything, doing his seaman stuff, and then that fades away pretty quickly into a different version of that character than we saw in the trailers, and then who we were introduced into. Without that same kind of, it's strange.
Like I said, this bringing these characters together is not quite as graceful, and that's the one character that it goes from two different speeds. Like, you don't really see the character arc, and you don't really follow him through that whole journey. And that might be one of the the downfalls of like having the two directors and the reshoots and stuff like that. But I do think overall the majority of the film was improved upon with those things. But that might be just one of the things that fell through the cracks. The Flash. I mean, I know you were talking a lot about him after the movie.
So, as a big fan of The Flash, I've never watched The Flash, and these guys have given me a lot of grief for it.
Yeah, you never watched the show.
I need to.
You have Netflix?
Yes, I have Netflix. You know what else I have? Other shows that I've watched, and also video games that take up a lot of my free time.
You're fat and ugly.
That's fair too. Yeah.
Now do your review.
Yes, I am fat and ugly.
So, is this your first time seeing a live-action version of The Flash?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. It's different than the TV show version for me. I like them both in different ways. I still think I've watched for like 3.5 years now Grant Gustin's version of it, but it was fun seeing a different version of the character, but still finding all those like the important emotional things in his life and everything. He was just one of the most entertaining parts of it. He just
absolutely every scene he's in, he stole the show.
I think casting someone like Ezra Miller, you know what you're getting with him, and I think that's why you cast somebody like him, is you get that awkward, quirky thing, and he did a lot of improv, and you could tell, and like it really worked, and he was really funny. He was like the funniest part of the movie. All characters had their little humorous bits, but he was just constantly going through, and that's kind of what you want. Like that's the character on the team that you want to see that stuff from the most.
Yep.
The supporting cast. This is our first time getting to see Commissioner Gordon on the screen. J.K. Simmons.
Hard seeing him not yelling at people.
Yeah, Parker.
I got him. Whiplash was my last thing with him.
Yeah.
And just I got a mustache and a hat.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he's it's
a good look. Absolutely,
definitely the perfect look of the character Commissioner Gordon. You have Lois Lane in there again. We've seen her in 2 previous movies and stuff. So seeing where she's at now after losing Superman and BVS, and same thing with Martha Kent, seeing where they're at and everything. I thought that was interesting because the world, the whole world is impacted by the loss of Superman. But these are the 2 characters that are impacted the most. And I'd say Bruce Wayne as well, because he's kind of a dick that kind of started the ball rolling on Superman's death. And they call him out a couple of times in the movie for things like that.
And some good ways and some tense moments.
Yeah. You have Steppenwolf coming in as the villain. I don't think that was the strongest move. When you're starting a universe and everything, and kicking off with the Justice League, their first villain is Steppenwolf. Like, no one's heard of Steppenwolf unless you deep dive into the comics, like the old New Gods and stuff. It really should have been Darkseid. Yeah, Darkseid.
I mean, is that not... I mean, I've seen the animated DC films, and that's the Justice League origin story that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, the New 52, which the animated version, you're talking about Justice League War. Yeah. That one's like kind of based on the New 52 origin and stuff, and it's the perfect villain.
You got parademons, you get your Darkseid.
Now, saying that, going into the movie, that's how I thought. But seeing it, he was okay. Like, he was not an iconic villain that, like, it's not like seeing the Avengers fight Loki Ultron or any of that stuff.
It was like
I thought he had a good look. Maybe the CGI wasn't the greatest.
The eyebrow. Anytime he did this stuff,
he had these little things that kind of looked like.
I was okay with that. That's your little demon goatee,
little
thing.
wiggly thing.
Yeah, that's fine. But the face, the close-ups of his face were throwing me off. You had a different face close-up that threw you off. That was for me every time.
I don't want to go too much into it, but there is some wonky CGI in the film. Sticks out with one particular character. I might I don't want to say too much about it. Yeah, that's all I'll say. Just a little bit. It was a little wonky, and it was kind of distracting from the very first scene of the movie. It really threw me out, and it kind of was like, but that was really my biggest problem with the film is just the CGI in places. I mean, it's not a perfect film. It's not a perfect Justice League film, or I think they could have done a little bit better, but I'm really happy with what I got after a year or so of worrying, of worrying about this franchise
what
following.
DC's been doing to you.
Yeah, it was like over a year and a half now since BVS came out, and just kind of
and it's kind of like the world lost hope.
Yeah, and
were they going meta with it?
Yeah, this movie gives hope is alive again. It was just great seeing all these characters come together, and the film might have a few flaws, but overall I am happy with it. I think I'm going to enjoy it again, going back and seeing it. And there might be a couple things that stick out, and the problems that I had with the film, they won't really go away, but I'll probably find new stuff. I'm like, I didn't notice that, or really just start to gravitate a little more towards some of the things. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Did you have any other issues, any other negatives on the film?
Yeah, I mean, nothing game-breaking, right? There's some things that annoyed me with the frequency of when I saw it. And this is the difference between you and I. I didn't like some of the cheesy one-liners, especially during combat, look out above kind of things.
Yeah.
And on top of that, just editing-wise, it's really weird to hear all this combat, and then they do an enhanced version. That line is clear-cut throughout it, even though...
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
The audio editing.
If that's my biggest qualms with it, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a terrible villain that I felt was horribly miscast kind of thing.
It was well cast.
Right,
Ciaran Hinds from Game of Thrones played Steppenwolf, and he's a great actor and everything, but...
wasn't things within the characters, like you said, they cared about civilians in this one, things like that, where... There wasn't any part of any character in this one. It's like, that's out of character. I'm not buying that for these guys.
Yeah.
So, I think they're pretty on target.
Yeah, and then for me, what I always say is, as long as the characters are right, that's my biggest thing. And I felt all the characters were what they needed to be for this version of those characters. Some of them we're seeing a live-action version for the first time. Some of them have been done in movies before or elsewhere, and but they all kind of, for what this version, this world, this universe that they built, they all worked within that. And there's some great fanboy moments in there. There's going to be some Easter eggs that are going to jump out at you, or some little references here and there, and some big things you're definitely going to want to. I don't think this is a spoiler. I've been seeing it everywhere. Stay to the end of the credits. There's really cool stuff going on in the credits.
I'll get out of here. It's not a Marvel movie. Everybody leave.
That's what the lady standing right behind me was saying. She's like, this is DC. This isn't Marvel. We're leaving. Honestly, both post-credit scenes, I love both of them so much. There's the really great stuff.
Fan service and setup.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you only get one of the two, and the setup
or
even
just
feels
comedy, or just this was... both of them meant something, either to the future of the franchise or just
to the universe,
iconic to the history of the characters.
Yeah.
I think just looking at my score for Wonder Woman, I originally gave it an 8.5, and then was like, that might be a little too low. I'm gonna bump it up to 9.
Oh,
this one, I think 8.5 might be where it lives. So yeah, I think I'm not gonna really adjust it or anything like that. I'm just gonna go with a solid 8.5 out of 10 mother boxes.
For me, and I might not have as wide of a scope of superhero frame of reference as you. I'd say the closest I've gotten to a 10 in a superhero movie would be Logan for me, I think.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed Wonder Woman. I enjoyed this a lot. I would still give it, even in my grand scheme of movies where Shawshank's a 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would put this at a solid 8.
Yeah. All right. So that's gonna be it for our review. Do us a favor, like this video, subscribe to our channel, like the Amazing Nerdiverse on iTunes, and subscribe. Follow us online on Facebook.com/TheAmazingNerdiverse, on Instagram @AmazingNerdiverse, and on Twitter I am @Jeff_Grantz. Steven is @Steven2gert. We are @NerdiversePod, and you are
at Rather Be Slayin'. I'll tweet sometime.
Chris
Parsons.
Just started it, but yeah, check out some of Chris Parsons' stuff. He's writing some video game related stuff on TheAmazingNerdiverse.com. Until next time, I'm Jeff Grantz.
I'm Chris Parsons.
We'll catch you right here next time in the amazing Nerdiverse. Steven, you want to give us a hit 'em?
No, I'm alright.
Steven, you want to sulk in the corner?
Yeah.
Really, it was a life-changing movie. I'm sorry that you couldn't see it.
Just let Chris do it.
You want to say hit 'em?
Like hit Steven?
No, just say
Oh my
hit 'em.
god, well, at least the magic isn't ruined.
Hit him!